Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Habib Ali and I am an ICT tutor by profession. Welcome back to another lesson. In today's lesson we are going to be learning about how to use the SUMIF function to add up multiple different items from the same range or column. Okay, so I'm using the same file as the previous lesson, lesson 57, revenue from courses, where just a basic spreadsheet showing all the revenue that was made by delivering different courses in different locations. You can find a copy of this exact same file. All you have to do is click on the link that I have left for you in the description box down below. This will take you to my website and you should be able to download this file so you can also work along with myself and complete this lesson. Now in the previous lesson we learned how to use the SUMIF function and to sum up how much revenue was made from each of these locations. Now today's lesson is a little bit more different. As a matter of fact, not many people actually use this technique. Hence, I do recommend you understand this lesson thoroughly and take this knowledge with you. So in today's lesson, the idea is to add up multiple location of the courses that was delivered. So for example, let's say if I delivered all the lessons or all the courses that was delivered, let's say in all the Manchester and in the London locations, and I want to tally them up. Is that possible? The answer is yes, and I'm going to show you this in today's lesson. But before I say anything else, let's go ahead and look at today's question. So the question for today is being asked of us to calculate the revenue made collectively from the following locations using SUMIF. So Manchester plus London, Leeds plus Blackpool, and also all the locations except Blackpool. Okay, so here we are being asked to add up 2 locations, then another 2, and then all of them except Blackpool. Some interesting questions. Let's make a start. Okay, so we are going to do the first one first. So let's add up all the revenue that was made by delivering courses in Manchester and London. So we start with the equal sign. We're using SUMIF just like we did in the previous lesson, lesson number 56. We open the bracket. Now, then we need the range. The range, remember, is where are these locations coming from which column? The range. So in this case, we do understand that the range is in column D under the heading location. So we go ahead and we simply highlight this range. Now, I am going to introduce a new keyboard shortcut to you today to highlight a range. This range is rather small, but in some of my previous lessons, I have had ranges which go up to hundreds of rows. So this little technique will save you a little bit of time and possibly some even frustration, because I know sometimes when you're highlighting a very long range of cells and using the click and drag method can take some time, and sometimes you can make some mistakes. So this little keyboard shortcut will surely help you out. All you have to do is click on the first cell that you are highlighting from, and then you simply hold down on the keyboard Control and Shift and the bottom arrow, just like that. And what Excel will do, it will simply highlight every single cell till it finds an empty cell, meaning there is nothing to select after that. So it's a clever little technique. It highlights every single one, whether there is 2 cells or 5,000 cells. It doesn't really matter. It will highlight every single one till it actually hits an empty cell. So that's a little tip for you to take from today's lesson already. So coming back to the SUMIF function, so we have highlighted the range where we are getting Manchester from. Once we have done that, we need a comma, and then it's asking for the criteria, and the criteria that we are adding up first is Manchester. So we simply, in double quotation, we type in Manchester. Remember, it's not case sensitive, so it doesn't really matter whether you type it in uppercase or lowercase. We then close the quotation, put a comma in there, and then it's asking us for the sum range. Now the sum range, if you remember from the last lesson, is the cells that where we are adding up all the revenue that was made by delivering courses in Manchester first of all. So all we have to do is simply highlight this range. So I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut again, hold down Control, Shift and the bottom arrow. There we are. Now this time you have probably noticed it is highlighted the cell including this one here. Now this example I have used on purpose to make you realize that keyboard shortcuts are not always great. You have to be extra careful. Now Excel has highlighted all the way up to this cell here because there is a value in there. Now that's not what we need, so you please be careful if you are using the keyboard shortcut. We don't need all the way to G17, we need G16. So I'm just going to manually correct this from 17 to 16. Now you can see this is the correct range, so please remember from this little mistake that this will be a fatal mistake if you didn't identify this and you moved on. Can you imagine it would have included this cell as well, and it would have possibly messed up your total summing up of these individual or different locations. In this particular example it wouldn't have, but you got to be extra careful how you highlight ranges using the keyboard shortcut. Anyway, coming back to our SUMIF function, once we have done that, we need to close the bracket. So far all we have done is simply added up all the revenues that was made by delivering courses in Manchester only, just like we did here. So if I press enter, I'm just going to show you something and then I'll continue. I'm going to press enter, and by doing so we should get 7,760 like we did in the previous lesson, because this is what Manchester or this particular 2 cells here are showing. So let's press enter and let's see what we get. There we are. So we've got 7,760. But in today's lesson, we need to do the SUMIF function in one go and add up Manchester and London together by using one SUMIF function. Okay, so I'm just going to double click and get back in there. You could have always done it on the formula bar as well, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to show you as though I am doing this in one go. So I'm just going to click at the end. Once you have done that, you need the plus sign, because the idea here is we are adding up Manchester first and then we use a plus sign and then we add up the London revenue. That's the idea. Okay, bear with me, let's do it. So we press the plus sign. Once you've got the plus sign, we need to do SUMIF again. So as though we're adding up one SUMIF plus another SUMIF. That's the general idea here. Once we have done that, we open the bracket. Then we need the range again where London is existing. So the range is this again. So we need to highlight this range. I'm just going to do the keyboard shortcut again for you. There we are, all the way down here. We've got the range. Once you've got the range, please, you can look at the formula bar. If this is difficult, this is going on to 2 lines. This might be easier for you to look at in the formula bar because it will show you in one long line. Okay, so once we have got the range, we need the comma. Once we've got the comma, it's asking us for the criteria in that range that we are summing up. So this time it is London. So in double quotation, we are going to type in London, making sure we don't make any spelling mistakes at all. And then close the quotes. Once you close the quotes, you need another comma. Once you've got the comma, it's asking us for the sum range where the revenue was made by delivering courses in London. So again, the range is this time. Now this time, because I know there's another value here which I don't want to highlight or select, I'm just going to do a manual click and drag selection this time. And once I have done that, I close the bracket. Now if I press enter, it will add up Manchester and London revenue in one go at the same time, rather than doing them individually like we did in the previous lesson. So I'm going to press enter and let's see what we get. Okay, there we are. So we've got 13,140. We don't need to get a calculator out. We're just going to select these two cells, and you can see here at the bottom on the status bar where Excel does some basic calculations for you based on what you have selected. So you can see straight here the sum value is 13,140. So that is correct. Okay, here is another example that we are going to do together. And this time a little bit quicker because I think we've got a bit of understanding by doing the first one. So equal sum if, open the bracket, we've got the range is here. I'm just going to use Control Shift and the down arrow. And then we need a comma. We need to know what the criteria is in that range that we have selected. Well, the criteria is going to be leads. So I'm just going to type that in double quotations. Leads, let's get it all in capital, just the way I tend to like it. It's just a personal choice. Leads, once we have done that, we need a comma. Once we've got the comma, we need the sum range where we are adding the revenue that was made by delivering courses in leads, and the range is this one here under revenue heading. So I'm just going to manually click and drag this time, simply because I've got a cell here. I just don't want Excel to include it and then me having to minus it again. Once we have done that, we close the bracket. And we are going to add another SUMIF function where we have made sales or revenue in Blackpool. So we need to put the plus sign in there. Once you've got the plus sign, we need the SUMIF again, and then open the bracket. What's the range? Well, the range is again in location, simply because we're looking or adding up all the sales, all the revenues that was made in Blackpool. So we simply select this again. You can either do Control Shift down or click and drag. It's up to you now. Or you can even type in the range if you have memorized the range, or you can see it in there. It's pretty small range, so I'm sure you can identify what the full range is. So if you want, you can always type in the range. Once you have done that, you put a comma in there. Then it's asking us, okay, what's the criteria in that range? Well, the criteria this time is Blackpool that we are adding up the revenues for. So again, in quotation, we type in Blackpool. Close the quotes and then put, we've done that, yes, put a comma in there. And now we need the sum range where we are adding up all the revenue that was made in Blackpool. The sum range is this one here, the column G under revenue. So we simply highlight this range and then we close the bracket. Once we have done that, we press enter and we should get the addition of all the revenues that was made in Leeds and Blackpool. Let's press enter. There we are. So we've got 16,695. Again, just to confirm, I'm just going to select these two cells. You can see on the status bar here at the bottom, the sum value is 16,695. Okay, so these two are correct. Now the last one is a very interesting one. It's asking us to add up all the other locations the revenues were made from except London. So we've got to add up Manchester, Leeds and Blackpool. Now there is two ways of doing this. You can continue doing the way I have just shown you, and you could have another plus sign here and then do, let's say we've done in this example, we've done Leeds and Blackpool. You can have Manchester, so plus and then SUMIF, and continue to do the SUMIF for Manchester, and you can do it that way. But let's say if we do it this way and we needed more, if there was any more locations in this range and we wanted to, let's say, add up 5 or 6 or even 7 locations or any more than that, this function will become really long and we could make some possible errors. So if you do ever get a question, or let's say in this scenario it's asking us to add up everything except one particular location, there is a better way of doing this, and today I am going to show you this. If I take you back to the question as well, you can see it is asking us to add up all the locations except Blackpool. Now let's start. We put in the equal sign, we put in SUMIF as we have been doing, we open the bracket, and we need the range. Well, the range we know is this is where we are getting all the locations except London. So London appears in this range, as you remember, or you've understood from all these examples that I have demonstrated to you. So we highlight the range. Now you can use keyboard shortcut, don't forget. Once you have done that, we need a comma. Now the criteria, this is where you need to apply what I'm going to show you now. This is the only part that is going to be different. Now if I am asking Excel to add up every location except I've got London here, I should really say Blackpool, so I'm going to change this. I'm just going to come out of this just to be 100% accurate. That's just changed my mind. Actually, initially I was going to do London, then I changed it to Blackpool, so I'm just going to change this for you. Blackpool, there we are, all except Blackpool. That sounds or looks better. Tallies up to what I've been saying, right? Yes. So equal sum if, let's start again. I like it in capitals, so I'm just going to switch my caps lock on. Equals sum if open bracket, and then it's asking for the range. Like I said before, this is the range. Then we need a comma. After the comma is the criteria. Now here, what I need you to do is use, first of all, the quotation. We do need to put this in quotation, and then we are going to use the operator less than and more than. Less than and more than. Now when we put these two operators together, less than and then more than, it actually means not equal to. So whatever I put after this now, these two symbols, it will, I'm asking Excel, okay, sum up everything but not this. Are you with me? So not this. So less than and more than to Blackpool. So I'm just going to type in Blackpool. Then I close my, got to spell it right, otherwise we won't get this correct. Close the quotation. So the range is there, then we're saying okay, less than and more than, which represents not equal to Blackpool. So we don't want Blackpool to be summed up here. Every other location we want Excel to add up for us. That's what we are asking Excel by putting in the less than and the more than symbol here. Okay, once we have done that, we need a comma just like before. Everything else is exactly the same, and then it's asking us, okay, what's the sum range? Where do you want to add every other location except Blackpool from? Well, we know what the range is now. This is the range all the way down here, and once we got the range, we simply close the bracket. Now if I press enter, Excel should add up Manchester, London, and Leeds. So all these three should automatically be added up, but remember we're taking the values from here. I'm just showing you some examples so you know that the values from here tally up to the answer we get as a result from each one of these sum functions we have been doing. So if I press enter now, let's see what we get. Okay, we've got 18,770 pounds revenue we have made from Manchester, London, and Leeds. So if I was to select these three this time now, look what we get here at the bottom in the status bar. Excel is telling us the sum value is 18,770, which is what we got as a result from this function that I have just shown you. So the only real difference is this little middle part here, the criteria part, which I have used this lovely little technique, less than and more than, which equates, please remember, to mean not equal to. So whatever follows that, it means don't include this, but include everything else. Okay, I hope this makes a lot of good sense to you. If you haven't understood it, please do pause the video or start from the beginning and play it as many times as you need to till you have fully understood this lesson. Also, the keyboard shortcut that I have mentioned to you, I just wanted to give you a visual picture here so you understand what I was talking about. So if you hold down Control Shift and click on the down arrow, you can select any range, but please remember, if there is another cell at the bottom that which you do not need, I do not recommend you use Control Shift and then the down arrow, otherwise you will have to manually then correct this. But if you know the range is a simple range and there is nothing else under or after that, then using the Control Shift and the down arrow is a nice little tip for you to use. It does speed up things, especially when there is a lot or a huge range to select. And this brings us to the end of today's lesson. So I hope you have enjoyed it and you've learned many things from it. If you have and you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and share and leave a comment in the comment section and let me know how things went for you. If you do want to learn any other different skills, also leave me a comment and I shall put it on my to-do list. Otherwise, please do subscribe to our channel if you have not done so, and look after yourself, and I shall see you over in the next lesson. And until then, please take care and goodbye.